Hey guys, what's going on? This is the MMA breakdown, and we're going over bets for UFC on Fox 25 as well as UFC 214. Follow me on Twitter. My link is in the description at MMA Breakdown Zero. To quickly recap my bets from the previous event, UFC Fight Night 113, Glasgow. Ended up losing my main parlay of Nelson, Calvillo, and Marshman. Um, and then I made a bunch of really silly like Hail Mary parlays where I parlayed a bunch of underdogs on the card, like eight or 10 fighters, and I put down $1 to win like 3,000, and some other ones a couple $100, but those weren't meaningful bets. But anyway, my main parlay didn't work out. Um, I felt confident in Nelson, so I don't really feel too guilty about that one. Uh, right now, my net position is negative. I'm in the red, only about $7, but that's only because I missed two fights, and that was Guida Coke and then Ponzinibbio Nelson. Get those two right, and I'm up way more than I'm down right now. So, this one will be only my fourth event, and yeah, I don't, I'm not hanging my head just yet, but hopefully we can get back on the right track here. So I don't want to waste any time. I know my previous betting videos have been way too long, and I don't want to go into the analysis again here. If you want to listen to that, check out my predictions video. That'll be linked in the description as well. But I do want to say that I'm changing one pick from what I had said in my video, and that's the Rivera Almeida fight. Taking Rivera, but let's start with my main parlay for the Fox 25 card this weekend. So I'm parlaying my usual three most confident picks, and that's going to be Gastelum, and I'm using the Bovada odds here because that's the side I'm on, although I'm not very happy with it because they're the last to have lines, and they don't seem to have any prop bets for the last several events. I don't know what's up with that. They have them like listed on the site, but without odds, and all the other sites seem to have them. So I'm thinking about getting on another site. And also, Bovada usually seems to have the least favorable odds of any of the sites that you can see here on Best Fight Odds, 5 Dimes, and some of the other ones, from what I've seen, almost always have the better odds. But anyways, I'm parlaying Gastelum, Alex Cowboy. I'm really surprised that he's the underdog, but Alex Cowboy and Chris Wade. Now, I don't think this is a lock, but these are my three most confident picks on this card. I wouldn't say I'm as confident in this parlay as I was with my parlay on UFC 213, where I picked Laprise, Blades, and who's the other guy? Font, all big favorites. Had about just about a plus 100 payoff, a little bit higher. I'm not as confident in. I do recognize the risk here, mostly with the Alex Cowboy fight, although I still think he deserves to be the favorite, and I'm really surprised that he's the underdog just because of his finishing power. LaFleur is not a finisher, does not have a single finish in the UFC. Even against some weak competition like Hohen Carnero. Who else did the guy fight? He's fought tough guys, but a guy as dominant a wrestler as he is, as much time as he spends, he should be able to get more done with his ground and pound. I feel, and he has no submission offense. John Howard was the other fight, and even his debut, Ben Alloway, all decisions. And I just don't feel he's going to out wrestle Alex Cowboy for 3 rounds. I do think he's the more technical wrestler. I do think he's even more technical on the feet in terms of just playing range and picking his shots, but he's no threat on the feet at all. And a lot of these fights that he's won, a few of them were either decisions that could have gone the other way, like the Mike Pierce fight, or fights where he's been rattled, like in the Howard fight. Ponzinibbio hurt him in that 3rd round, even though LaFleur took him down at will over and over again. Juan Carnero mounted him in the 3rd round after LaFleur was dominating the first 2. And the Court McGee fight was also a super close fight that I felt could have gone either way. So the guy's just been, really fighting on shaky ground and really close fights against not great competition. And Alex Cowboy, while he's probably faced the weaker fighters, at least his wins have come over weaker competition. And I'll pull up his record here. Well, he's got those wins over Brooks and Means, but like Muntazeri, Piotr Hallman, Joe Merritt, not big name opponents. I'd say LaFleur has probably faced the tougher guys. Also, the Mike Pierce fight for LaFleur, if I didn't mention that one, that was another close fight that could have gone to Pierce. But yeah, I just don't see a guy as safe as LaFleur is surviving 3 rounds against a really dangerous opponent, both on the ground and on the feet. As dangerous opponent as Alex Cowboy is. So that's why I'm taking Oliveira and putting him in this parlay. And then Chris Wade versus Frankie Perez. I don't know how you can't take Wade here, and I'm really surprised that he's not like a closer to 500 favorite. Laprise against Camozzi got up there around 500 eventually. Perez has just been out wrestled by Johnny Case, dominantly out wrestled and TKO'd in, I believe, the 3rd round. And then Mark Diakiese out wrestled this guy as well. Wade's a super legit wrestler, a real physical force. We've seen submission, the ability to finish by submission from him in a couple fights. Mehdi Baghdad in his debut against Kane Carrizosa. And his ground and pound is really mean as well. So I think he's going to have no trouble getting Perez down and dominating him from there. Perez had that knockout against Stout, but, that doesn't count for much for me. That was wasn't that Stout's retirement fight, I believe. So, yeah, got to take Wade. So that's my main parlay. And then Gastelum Weidman, I know a lot of people are saying Weidman's going to be too big for him. It's going to get him to the ground and dominate him. For one thing, I think Weidman's just broken. I really do. Started well against Mousasi, was able to establish a takedown. But once Mousasi was able to keep it on the feet for just enough time to let his hands go and start connecting, Weidman totally fell apart, started taking damage, and, controversy aside, I thought even if they had restarted that fight, the Weidman was definitely going to be put away. So, and against a guy who's shown an improving boxing game, improved power with a lot of hand speed and throws with a lot of conviction. I don't know how, Weidman can survive, honestly. I think once he gets hit with a hard shot, it's going to get put out. And another thing, taking down Mousasi, I think, is a whole other ball game than out wrestling Gastelum. I know Gaslam's a slow starter, and Kennedy was able to get his hands on him, throw him around a little bit. Nico Musoke at welterweight kind of suplexed him in that first round. But being the shorter, stocky guy, and Gaslam's got a thick frame, I think that Weidman is really going to have a tough time closing the distance and either getting in on his legs or tying him up in the clinch and dragging him down. I think Gaslam's just going to be too short and stout. And when Weidman closes that distance, Gaslam is just way more deadly in the pocket. Weidman's striking has become really basic at this point, and it was the foil to Silva's really loose game, but a jab cross without much power behind it. I just think Gaslam's gonna break through his guard and knock him out. So I really like Gaslam there. So that's my main parlay. Plus 433, really good. I wouldn't, bet the house on it. Like I said, LaFleur, Oliveira, I can see why people think LaFleur is going to have some success in that fight. But really, the other two, Wade and Gaslam, I would just be pretty shocked if they lost. So I threw like $5 on this to win 20. Yeah. And then I think you could look at one more parlay here. I did as well, and it's not one that I'm as confident in as the first, but I'm looking at let's parlay this again. So I'm looking at Burgos, Kelleher, and Jeremy Kennedy. And I actually think that none of these fighters are locks. But if I wanted to take a chance on another parlay, and I'm going with that one. And actually, I don't think that any of these guys should be like as big of favorites as they are. Over minus 200, and Burgos over minus 360. I think is also kind of crazy. I think the guys look great in his two fights, but Pepe's a really dangerous opponent, and I think a big step up from Charles Rosa and even Thiago Trator. He's dangerous on the feet and on the ground. He's got those fight-ending shots like the flying knee, pulling guard, stuff like that. It's going to be a real test for Burgos, I think, but he does have the better boxing. And Pepe, can be thrown off his game by a more fundamentally sound fighter, even a guy like Elkin. So Burgos who favor him. Kelleher against Vera. Kelleher is still an unknown, and Vera, even though most people thought he was on his way to losing a decision against Pickett, I thought he looked way better than he ever had before in the UFC. And yeah, Kelleher, super sick guillotine against Alcantara, but still kind of an unknown. So that makes this fight kind of dangerous. Vera is dangerous and obviously improving a lot. But, Vera had to give up takedowns to the point where most people scored that fight against him, against, a retirement fight, Brad Pickett. Not a good thing. Kelleher, a younger, athletic wrestle boxer who has fight-ending submissions and I believe has knockout finishes as well. That's why his nickname is Boom, and he doesn't have a wiki page here, so I can't look at his record. But if he's giving up takedowns to Brad Pickett, I got to think that a younger wrestler is going to be able to take him down. So that's why I'm going with Kelleher. And then Kennedy Bochniak. This one's kind of a risky one. A lot of people are really writing off Bochniak. His fight style is pretty forgettable. Doesn't really do anything. And that's why I have to go with Kennedy because he's real gritty. Gets in your gets in your face and closes the distance and just gets his hands on you and uh, out wrestles you and is really committed to the takedown, sort of smothering clinch game against Ricci, and then got a pretty serious win over Honey Jason in his last fight. So I think he can get Bochniak down. Bochniak is probably a much more technical kickboxer than either Honey Jason. I don't know about Alessandro Ricci. He's a solid kickboxer, but I think that kickboxing, that maintaining distance and being really patient from the outside, that could be a style that gives Kennedy more trouble trying to impose his wrestling game against than more trouble than he had with his previous opponent. So there's some risk there. Not super confident about this one, but I do want to take a chance on another parlay on this card, so I'm going with that. And I threw, I think, $2 on this one, whereas with the main parlay, I threw about $5 on that one. And then let's run through the single bet. So, and this is something I really ignored, but something I'm absolutely going to start doing. With all cards going forward, you got to make the single bets, especially with the fights you're super confident about. If the fight's real close, then I would just stay away from the single bets, but it acts as a buffer, if you lose your parlay. But say you got two of those fights correctly in your parlay, if you play single bets on them, then you're going to not lose as much on your parlay, possibly even come out ahead on it. And if you get your parlay right and you did a single bet, then you're just going to get a little extra. So, my philosophy is that you shouldn't parlay unless you're really confident, at least not putting much money on it, significant percentage of your total bankroll. But I think it's still absolutely worth it to single bet, mostly because just for me personally, I rarely get less than 50% right. It's usually higher than that, like 6%, 60, 70% on most 12 fight cards. I usually don't, get less than like 7 out of 12. That's usually about my average. So that's something I'm going to be doing going forward, and I'm just going to run through the fights and tell you which single bets I'm placing, which are just the fighters that I picked in my predictions video. But for the underdogs, in fights, I think it's worth it to throw something on the underdog, just to take advantage of the odds. But and one more thing, the parlay that I talked about with my two parlays I told you about, I would actually just throw $1 on like a 5 or 6 fighter parlay. So I'll take Gastelum, Oliveira, maybe leave one fight out that I'm not so confident in, like the Kennedy fight. I believe this is what I did. I placed the bet earlier in the day when I was at work on the toilet, but so I can't recall exactly. But I think that was it there. Those 5. And you can see plus 884 for 5, at least for me. Not all locks, but fairly confident picks. Some of them locks. And I think I threw a couple bucks on that. I think it was like $2 to make 17. So pretty good value there. It's worth checking something like that out. And if you just want to parlay like 8 or 9 fighters just to make or just to throw $1 on it, you can get a much higher payout. So that's something to try as well, just to take the chance. But anyways, I'm running through the single bets. I like Gaslam a lot, so I put a little bit on him. And from when I say a little bit, that's either a buck, or if I'm a little more confident in it, might be $2 or $3. So put some money on Gaslam as a single bet. Elkins Bermudez, I almost changed my pick here, and I might end up doing it just because Bermudez, well, I still favor him as of right now. I think he's a more technical striker and wrestler, and the better athlete. We know he fades in fights, but the guys who have knocked him out are pretty talented knockout strikers, on their own, regardless of Bermudez leaving himself vulnerable. Jeremy Stevens and Korean Zombie, all powerful strikers. And Elkins, his striking has been improving. I think Alpha Male has been great for him. Has all the momentum right now. He's on a win streak. And we might. I don't think Bermudez will gas as bad as Bektic, but he may slow down. And he is defensively poor. And Elkins, he's a dog, so he's going to be real tough. I'd say Elkins, has more heart than Bermudez, so I may end up throwing a buck on Elkins. He was at 206 earlier in the week. I should have got him there, but I actually do think at these odds, Elkins is worth at least a buck. Bermudez is the favorite. Since the fight's so close, I won't throw anything on him. I didn't include him in any of my parlays, so a small bet on Elkins. Other than that, I'd stay away from that. Volante Cummins, I like Volante. I think he should have a huge advantage on the feet. However, he can be out wrestled, and he is a very head case fighter, very inconsistent. So I would not put this one in any parlays, but I did put on Volante. Rivera Almeida, like I said, this is the one pick that I'm changing from my video. I like Rivera now. I just think Almeida, not only with Garbrandt, but against Pickett, we saw that guys with real, bare bones, meat and potatoes boxing games can really give him a lot of trouble. Pickett sat him down in that fight, and Rivera is that just kind of an old school, no frills, hard nosed fundamental boxer. That's about all he does. So I think Rivera is actually going to be able to slow this one down, and just kind of outclass Almeida, kind of the way he did to Faber. But I still think it's close, and I think Almeida has he's more dangerous, has the lethality advantage. Rivera, other than that knockout against Brimage, hasn't really shown the ability to hurt opponents. Kind of gets complacent once he gets the lead. And Almeida, can turn on that volume at any time. And Rivera did eat a lot of shots against Alcantara, who should not be as good a striker as Almeida. So I think it's still a close one, and that's why I didn't parlay it. And I was expecting Rivera to be the underdog at 225. I wouldn't throw a whole lot on him, but a small bet. Sherman Grabowski, I'm just totally staying away from for single bets or parlays. I can't trust Sherman. Almost got knocked out against what was the guy's name? Rashad Coulter that he fought in his last fight. The guy was hobbling on one leg and still almost knocked him out into the third round. And then Sherman just looked terrible against Ledet and was knocked out easily against Walt Harris. So I can't trust the guy, but I can't actually pick Grabowski because he's been terrible too. Getting destroyed by low-level heavyweights, or at least one of them, and Anthony Hamilton, and the other Derek Lewis. So can't actually pick him to win, but I could see him giving Sherman a really tough fight, and I could see him winning too, because like I said, Sherman just seems easily hurt and not very technically sound. Oliveira LaFleur, I would definitely take advantage of this. I mean, I don't just think the fight is even. I actually favor Oliveira here. Before the lines came out, I was picking Oliveira. Like I said, I could see the case for LaFleur winning, but with those kinds of odds, a guy who has as many finishes as Oliveira against a guy who just has to out wrestle you for 3 rounds, or that's the only thing he can do to get the win, really, and who often gives his opponent the chance to hurt him in fights. I just can't really see. I can't really see not taking advantage of these lines here. So I put on Oliveira. That's big money for me. Dos Santos good. I'm picking good, but that's a tough one. Dos Santos is on the win streak, but he's really kind of wild, and I really like Good's technique against Andrew Craig. So I'm just staying away from that one altogether. No bet. Eric Anders, haven't looked at him at all. Natal, a really flaky head case fighter, very inconsistent. Probably not going to have time to research that one, honestly, before. So I'm just going to stay away from it. Put a small bet on Kelleher, same with Kennedy. Pepe, actually, at these odds, I would probably just throw something on him because I do think he's severely being written off here. I still favor Burgos, but we already covered this fight. Pepe's real dangerous, a real submission threat, and can pull guard. Trottor was able to grab hold of Burgos, one too many times in that fight for me to really feel confident that just with his hands, Burgos can keep Pepe off of him. So that's a dangerous fight. And at those odds, he might be worth $1. I think so. I might throw a buck on old Pepe. Junior Albini, Tim Johnson. Watched a little footage on Albini, and I'm actually taking him in this fight just because Johnson, I feel, has gotten pretty hittable and is kind of stagnated. And Omulanchek really pressed a cage wrestling game against him, and just kind of rendered him immobile in that fight. And Albini, a big, full-size heavyweight who has power in his hands. As hittable as Johnson is, I just feel like he might put him out. So I think Albini might be worth $1, but I know he's a newcomer. Johnson, has several fights under his belt now, and he's a solid heavyweight. But I think it's just kind of stagnated, like I said. But Albini might be worth a look there. And then Wade Perez, like I said, I think Wade should just totally dominate, probably even finish. So I did put actually a sizable bet on Wade, although the payoff is pretty low since he's sizable favorite. All right, so that's it for UFC on Fox 25. I want to quickly go over 214, and I'm probably not going to be doing a betting video for this event besides this one. So let's just run through this quickly. Cormier and Jones, I just think is real close just because all of the variables, but I can't pick Cormier. I can't trust him to fight composed enough. I think he's going to be emotional like he was in the first fight, trying to knock Jones out, and it's not going to work, and he's just kind of going to get tired, get sloppier, and Jones will at least be able to do enough to hang on and the decision. So probably going to end up taking Jones, but because of all the outside of the cage drama, the layoff, and it's only been a year since he fought OSP, but it's really been like 2.5 years since he's been really an active fighter, fighting consistently. I expect him to be rusty in one form or another, but can't be super confident in that one. This is a big one right here, Cerrone over Lawler. When I made my pick for this fight, when it was scheduled for UFC 213, I took Lawler. However, Cerrone was my initial gut pick, and I've since gone back to that, and I really feel that he's going to win this fight. Lawler's just taken way more damage. Both guys are, at the end of their careers, if they shouldn't both be retired already. But I don't know how you can't argue that Lawler is the one who's taken way more damage. Between the Condit fights, the McDonald fight, and then finally getting knocked out by Woodley. Cerrone's also been chinny. He's also taken abuse, to the body in the finishing sequence against Jorge Masvidal. And then Matt Brown, you really kind of saw how shop-worn Cerrone was in that fight. But I just feel of the two, Cerrone is going to be the guy who can still physically compete at this level better than Lawler can. But the main thing is that Lawler, I think, just kind of got his lack of technique exposed by Condit. Got hit a lot in that fight, got dropped in the first round, I believe. And Cerrone, while he's not going to have the diverse array of strikes with his hands that Condit employed, or the constant shifting angles and footwork, he's still the distance striker here, still the more technical striker in terms of his combinations and finding openings. Think of the finishing sequence he hit on Story, where I think he went up top and then attacked the body and then landed the head kick all in one sequence. So Lawler, I just think, too basic with his striking at this point. Just loading up on those big haymakers. Really, against Woodley, was just really exposed as being easy to time and really easy to hit that opening on. And Cerrone with those head kicks, I just think at some point Lawler's going to leave himself open and Cerrone's going to capitalize on that head kick. So I like Cerrone by KO. I threw $5 on Cerrone. That's how much I like him. So, I wouldn't say a lock, but it's just something I'm really feeling. So I put the money on Cerrone. Maya Woodley, I don't want to go into a whole breakdown here because I still have to do my predictions video, but Woodley should win, should be the clear favorite on paper, but we've seen Woodley really underperform a lot, against McDonald, especially in the rematch against Stephen Thompson, and even a little bit in the first. He just has a problem leading, of being, really offensively proactive in fights. And I think it could cost him early here against Maya if Maya is able to really come out fast and hard, tie up with him, get him to the ground early. I could see Maya subbing him, but to go the distance, I don't think Maya can do it. Really faded in the Masvidal fight, almost put out, and was it the end of the first round, I think, or the end of the second round? Masvidal almost had him out of there. And the LaFleur fight where he really gassed hard by the fifth round. I don't think this guy can go 4 and 5 rounds against Woodley. And also Woodley, I think this is finally the guy who just has that explosiveness in short distances in the pocket to just shut down, take down attempts by Maya, to hit him hard, get out, to sprawl hard. I just see him being too athletic, too explosive for Maya to physically overwhelm like he's done to all of his other opponents. So I'm taking Woodley, but certainly not a lock. Then I'll take Justino. Saw a little footage on Evinger, and she's a good fighter. I don't think she's beating Justino at all. Although huge odds there. If you think Evinger's going to win, then definitely take advantage. Ozdemir Manua, I actually threw a buck on Ozdemir here, and actually will be taking him. And I can't justify it. I can't explain why, but it was the same situation against Serkinov. You know, I didn't see anything that told me that Ozdemir should win that fight. Um, and he ended up just flattening him. Now, Serkinov had a really questionable game plan in that fight. Not as talented a striker as Manua at all, but there's something about Ozdemir that, you know, I think we can't quite get a beat on him. And I just feel like he's going to keep riding that underdog wave, maybe all the way to a title shot. And I just feel like he's going to score another upset here. You know, he's a capable kickboxer, definitely more so than Corey Anderson and who's the other guy? OSP. Although, you know, Ozdemir looked a lot less impressive against OSP than Manua did, but I don't know. Manua, great early finisher. I don't know how I like his game going into third, fourth, fifth round. So I just threw something on Ozdemir, and I just have this feeling that he's going to score the upset again. So taking him and put a buck on him. And then Knight and Lamas. I got Lamas. He opened at plus 110. I got him at plus 100. And not a lock, but definitely I think deserves to be the favorite. Knight, really scrappy dude, powerful, a really scrappy, sick guard game, as well as you know, an airtight back take and rear naked choke game. But technique wise, Lamas is just better. You know, on the feet, he'll have the wrestling advantage. Knight also has a really explosive shot, but you know, Lamas, this guy submitted Charles Oliveira, went 5 rounds with Aldo, went 3 hard rounds against Holloway, took his best shots, and the only guy to put him out in the UFC was Chad Mendez. And Knight's got power. I don't think he has that kind of power